Good night and welcome to Mindful Live 348. I am your co-host Nathan Springer, joined by the real host this evening, one Leora Lois Springer. Say good night, Lily. That's a good night. All right, this evening we are streaming live on Facebook, on TikTok. The badge crash with the coke. Is how I sang it. Is how I sang it in time. The badge crash with the coke. Hey. Once you're on the inside, make sure you hit that like button, double tap the screen over there on TikTok if you're wondering how to hit the like button. Hit that like button, allow our algorithmic masters to know, hey, this is good stuff. This is good stuff. This is stuff that the humans like to listen to. So we'll send that notification out to as many people as possible. And that's why you hit that like button. That's why you double tap the screen and you do it over and over and over and over and over again. And you can do it as many times as you so like. People, the mustache coming back into twirl. Once the mustache could twirl, you know. Once the mustache could twirl, you know, the thoughts come deeper. All right. So first up, what we're talking about. Yes, I know the boat crashed with the coke, or rather the barge crashed with the coke. I know that, but right before that, there's something very interesting going on in Parliament of late, where our supposedly independent police service seems to be constantly handled and shaped and structured and maneuvered, the second one too, maneuvered by our parliament. And you know, anytime you hear our parliamentarians saying things like, our police service is independent and we don't control the police service, and you know it's an independent police, and you must understand that the parliamentarians aren't in control. Okay. Anytime they start talking about those things and saying that, remember these incidences, because they reveal something that it's not exactly as independent as our politicians would like us to believe. It's not exactly that independent. All right, let's see to share the YouTube video. All right, let's jump into the first story over on YouTube there. Police union explains strange rejection of DCP nominee. Yeah, after 2 weeks, wouldn't someone see this mystery powder since before kind of, hey, we ain't reach the badge crash with the cookie yet. We running ahead. Police union says explains strange rejection of DCP nominee. President of the Police Social and Welfare Association, acting ACP Gideon Dixon, is calling for a full-scale explanation as to why the government rejected Assistant Commissioner of Police Wendell Lucas for the position of Deputy Commissioner of Police. Yesterday, Dixon described Lucas' rejection as strange, as he called on government to provide answers. Lucas was nominated number 1 on the merit list from the Police Service Commission. He was nominated number 1. But why shouldn't they control the service? They are blamed for their non-performing. Well, you see, their control of the service and the blame for the non-performing or non-performance isn't supposed to be as them being hands-on on the police service. That blame is in facilitating the police service to do their job. The idea is that you're supposed to craft an independent organization and supply it as such that they are able to do the job. If you are unable to craft an independent organization to do the job of policing, then you are failing at your job of governing. It's not that what you're now supposed to do is morph yourself into the commandant of the police service. We don't want a police state. When the politicians directly control the police, you end up with a police state. That is not what we want. And we're going to get even further into assuming we want certain things from the police ignorantly and foolishly. All right. He was recommended and nominated as #1. He was the most qualified for the position, at least on paper. Rejected. That kind of reminds me of one Mr. Double G, who was also on paper the most qualified for the job, #1 on the nominee list, and also rejected. Now, the Big Up All Police Positive Radiation says there are allegations floating around. On the heels of the controversial rejection, an article in this week's Sunday Guardian reported that allegations of misconduct contained in a confidential document from a former head of the Professional Standard Bureau, Totaram Duki, which could have been the reason the government gave the thumbs down to Lucas to the position of DCP. The 4-page document said that Duki was assigned in 2019 to conduct an investigation made by officers of the Customs and Excise Division, into allegations of suspected misbehavior in public office and branches of discipline against Lucas. But the thing is, Wide Leather, you're an ACAB guy. All cops are bad. I hope you don't use the other B. But I'm not ACAB. I don't believe that, no. But when W was accepted, he was not #1 on the list. They do this all the time, apparently. Are you sure when he was accepted, he was not #1 on the list? Are you confident of that fact, Ronnie? Because I am not confident of that fact. And of course, they do this all the time. Well, not all the time. But this is something that they can do. They are allowed to not select the person at the top of the list. Of course, this is something they can do. But I would have been okay with this if we had a functional police service. If it is that our police service is dysfunctional and at every corner these people seem inept, incapable, unable to answer questions, unable to speak the English language, unable to understand and explain themselves properly to the public, then I would say at this point, let's stop rejecting the most qualified and maybe let's start choosing the most qualified. And the grounds of allegations being the reason you're rejecting someone. You see, Ronnie, you seem not to understand what you are opening room for. If the government can accept anyone on their own whim and fancy without reasoning, you do understand you are giving government the ability to craft a police service of their own design, which is not something anybody really wants. You want it to be that the government is able to choose the most low IQ, silly, unwise, dumb, dotish people, put them in positions of leadership, and have them there only as tethers because they are sure they will be beholden to them. You want that ability for our government inside the police service? It's not if it's that is what they've been doing the whole time. And you are okay with that because that is what we are speaking about. We are speaking about the fact that the government are doing this and it's not a good thing. So what is the discrepancy here, Ronnie? That is what we are highlighting, that the government is purposefully putting their thumb on the scale and creating a senior rank in the police service of their own design. And that group is failing. Now, if you were designing your own group and the group was successful, like President Bukele over in El Salvador, if you were locking up people from a side, and well, we're seeing the crime, and we're seeing the crime numbers plummeting, well then fine, okay, cool, word up, bro. Makes sense. You craft your business. But you're crafting the thing and you keep throwing these people at us that are unable to do the job. Dixon said what happened in Parliament could affect career-minded officers who would like to apply for the post of DCP in the future. It could have an impact on officers' morale, including Lucas. The actions of those who sit in the higher authority is one that shows no consideration to the careers of the officers who put in their work. And I've spoken to some police before, and this seems to be something that is plaguing the police service right now. There isn't a clear path to upward mobility. If officers do not know that, okay, if I do X, Y, Z, then apply for ABC, I am going to receive it. It's all up in the air according to which government comes in and votes them. What? How's an officer supposed to aim for an excellent career there? Or are we supposed to just expect officers to forget about the career building business? Forget about looking for promotions and upward mobility? Just sit down there and run racket your whole life? Stay a constable till you're 50 because you're fine doing that because you could run racket as a constable and make enough money to live well. The president of police welfare, he doesn't want to be top cup too, just asking. I do think at one point in time he did apply, just by the way. I mean, that is what happens, to be honest. Well, I mean, like I occasionally say this. I like to point out the officers and their wrongdoing regularly, but I do understand that the culture and situation that we place the officers in this country is one where it's like we're encouraging that kind of behavior. We appoint people that are seemingly inept at the top. So you are led by people who, let's put it this way, you are led by people who are not good at answering questions. As an officer, you are kept down because there's bacchanalia and who you know friend thing in trying to get promoted. But at the same time, the laws are written in such a way that you have an inordinate amount of power over the general public. And the country is known to thrive on corruption. Aren't we just telling officers, listen, bro, go run racket, bro. When we give you this badge, this is a badge allowing you to run racket. Go run the best racket you could run, brother. Positive. What are you asking there? What kind of tax gets you from? I don't know anything about that. We have totally created an inept police service, to be honest. It could seem so. Imagine police with 5 years service promoted in front, persons who acting for years. Bro, I may have spoken to someone who may be familiar with such circumstances, and people were telling me about this. The example the person drew, and I said it a while back, the example the person drew was that you could be an officer going to a school, to, you know, where the officers go into schools and they talk to people. You meet somebody in the school who say, "Boy, police, sir, officer, I want to be just like you when I grow up." That person could come, graduate school, apply, go through training, become a police officer, get promoted, and leave you in the same rank there. And it's not a matter of you being unable to qualify for the promotions. Just whatever bacchanal exists there allows for such things to occur. And how do we then expect the best out of the police service? How do we expect the best out of the police service then? That seems like an unwise expectation. To me, it seems like an unwise expectation. Last week, Guardian Media published a story about Senior Superintendent Andre Norton, who applied for the post of DCP in 2021, but was never confirmed by the Parliament. Norton had top scored over present Commissioner of Police Earl Harewood Christopher, but never received an explanation as to why his nomination was overlooked. Here's the thing. There might be a good reason, but shouldn't that good reason be put forward? Like, here's why all the undercurrents and suggestions and innuendos don't make sense to me. Blessed night, Willabang. Here's why it doesn't make sense to me. If these officers, like not the double G isn't inside there. Wait, where's this talk? Where's this talk? Ronnie, what you talking about? If these officers are inside there and you're saying the reason you don't want to promote them is because they are corrupt or they are dishonest, then shouldn't you be trying to get them out of the police force? Because these men are already senior officers. If your reason is that they're corrupt, that's why you can't promote them, wouldn't that be reason enough to get rid of them from their current senior positions? Like what? How does this add up? How does it add up? And you know, Ronnie, as well, you said you weren't saying that, but many people believe that what they want in a country is for the government to have that much control of the police service. But no, you don't actually want that. And I realize many people seem like they don't understand what you might actually want from a police service. They don't understand what you might actually want from a police service. Can't fire police just so. That's true. I know that. But shouldn't the process be engaged? Shouldn't the process be engaged? Yeah, you don't want police officers hired by the government. And in watching the operations now, here's the thing. If the police service, they might be relatively corrupt. Watching the operations of the police service now, if the police service is being influenced by the political directorate, then the political decisions made by the police service, one must assume then, are choices of the ruling government. So the idea that nearly no one in the general public must be armed in order to protect themselves, that seems to be a direct decision of the government. It's not even a decision of the protective service. It's the protective service enacting what the government says. Businessman sues cop over delay in granting FUL. A businessman and ship captain has been given the green light to sue Police Commissioner Earl Harewood Christopher over her delay in deciding whether to grant him a firearm user's license. A businessman and ship captain has been given the green light to sue Police Commissioner over her delay in deciding that. High Court Judge Justice Frank C. Prasad granted the Diego Martin businessman this. The man who operates a vessel maintenance business and captains a vessel to perform the service said in July 2021 he was granted a provisional FUL FUL. This often requires him to sail the country's waters and be significantly exposed to the criminals, his lawyers said. The man completed several firearm training courses before he submitted his application for an FUL in June 2022 during the tenure of Haywood Christopher's predecessor, acting Police Commissioner McDonald Jacob. He visited the TTPS firearms unit several times to seek an update, while his lawyers admitted there was no legislative deadline for deciding an FUL application. They suggest that the process should be completed within a reasonable time. Haywood Christopher has not provided an approximate time frame as to when the applicant can expect a decision on the application for an FUL, they said. The absence of timely communication has created a challenge in comprehending the cause of the delay in reaching a decision on the application. Good night, Blackstone. She doesn't respond to anyone, Shalana says. Well, I suppose she'd have to respond to the courts. That's why the guy went to the courts. And decisions like this seem strange to me. Like, why are our politicians controlling our police, deciding that, okay, even businessmen out there, in a time when we obviously seem to be in a high point of crime, shouldn't be allowed FULs? And listen to this, even stranger. This to me is even stranger. You see, this again makes it seem like our police service at the top is just another branch of the PNM. Judge, give me back my security. Justice Frank C. Prasad has written to Police Commissioner Earl Haywood Christopher requesting the urgent reinstatement of police officers to protect him as he continues to face death threats. The Express understands that Justice C. Prasad is now being protected by private security bodyguards following a decision by the top cop last year to radically revise his security detail. Ronnie's Will says, my friend who has a minimart up by me who applied for FUL was robbed and stabbed. No surprise. No surprise. Crimax says his judgment anti-PNM. Well, I've heard some people say such, but I mean, is that cause? You do understand that what you are doing is basically telling the man to die. You are trying to set up the man for death. If this man is at risk, that's why he has the guards, and you remove the police guards, are you not trying to get him dead? What's the name of the judge? Justice Frank C. Prasad. Justice Frankie, everybody boy Frankie. Justice C. Prasad was provided police protection since 2017 after there were reports of a plot to kill him. He received protection under the tenure of former police commissioners Stephen Williams, Gary Griffith, and McDonald Jacob. In June 2020, a brass-colored 9mm round of ammunition was sent to C. Prasad in the mail with a note. You are a whole racist, infidel, evil man, fed up of you, resign, okay, shot call, this would look nice between your eyes. His security detail was increased after this threat in 2020. He's the only judge who looks at the claimant's perspectives. Crimac, you're here regularly, so you should know. I read a lot of Frankie's rulings. I read a lot of Justice Frank's rulings because at least they're interesting, and it seems like he gives his perspective on why he says this and why he does that. And I mean, I might not agree with all, but I'm not a judge. I understand. And I kind of like the guy's rulings by and large. I mean, he's a bit long-winded, and he has a tendency to pontificate. You know, he likes himself, and you could get the understanding that he's a Presbyterian lay minister when you hear him speak. You understand this guy obviously preaches out there. He could be a bit wordy, but good judge as far as I could tell. Why would you remove his police security detail? So you're not allowing people firearm licenses, and then you're removing people's police security detail. People who are obviously under threat. Like for me, if I were to suppose who might be more under threat, a judge, a high court judge in a murderous country like Trinidad, a violent country like Trinidad, or even Dr. Rowley. Personally, I am not saying that he's under no threat, but I believe Frankie, a judge, would be under more threat than Dr. Rowley. Basically, every day, he looks at criminals and tells them, this is going to be your punishment. That's a man that people could hate. And like, the reason I say that, Crimac, is not saying that Dr. Rowley shouldn't get any security. By all means, give the leader of state. I have no problem with that. But if you are protecting people who are at danger in the state apparatus, he's a civil judge, though, just saying. If you are protecting people who are at danger, who maintain the very apparatus of our state, to me, that would be someone in top line, front line for it. Would he not? And it's strange to me that the police service decided to pull his security detail. He is a civil judge, though, just saying. Noted. Maybe it was investigated and they found out the threat was fabricated. Oh? Fabricated by whom? Like, you see, these are the things that I just refuse to understand. I refuse to understand these things. Because, okay, the police investigated and they found the threat to be fabricated. Isn't wasting police time a crime? So then, if that was the case, if they investigated and they found out that the threat was fabricated, no one is above the law. Having police security detail is not an international standard for judges. Nobody cares about that. Who cares what is an international standard for judges? Do we work our country by international standard? Is the behavior of our people during carnival up to international standard? So what nonsense? What does international standard have to do with anything? We're trying to make sense here, not go according to international standards. Trinidad is Gunville, West Indies. Everyone in line of fire, not only judges. Joe says to me, judges, magistrates, police officers, that lay charges are always at a higher risk, correct? The question is, what justifies so much protection for a civil judge if his life is under threat? That's what justifies protection. That's the answer to that question. What justifies protection to a prime minister? To a civil leader? What justifies protection to any government minister? Whether they are under threat, not so? That's the justification for protection. Speaking about the police, though. Speaking about the police, though. And here's the thing, PMAAC. And the reason you protect judges. The reason you protect judges, the reason you give them enough money, etc., etc., etc. Because, all right, why upgrade it from security to state police? Okay, let's look at this, right? Let's look at this. If we have a judge whose life is under threat so much that they have to hire their own private security, which comes out of their pay. Now they have a monetary risk because they're losing money hiring private security. Private security is not as effective as police, so their life is still under higher risk. Aren't you putting pressure on that judge to sway his decisions? Militant Rockstar says possibly the private security are better trained than bodyguards. I don't know. Militant Rockstar, ask an officer that you know, see if you meet an officer that you are familiar with, and ask them, who do the wealthiest people in our country hire as their private bodyguards? They may not be able to say it on a public platform because I think some of that moonlighting may be against policy, but ask an officer and they will inform you. Is the judge paying for the private security? Well, if it's private, who would pay for it? I would assume it's the judge paying for that. Can they give a bodyguard allowance? Like, explain this to me though. Why would we pay as a state to hire private bodyguards while we pay a security group? Like, I don't understand that logic at all. It's to me, that's the same thing like the when I look at the Attorney General's office, when we have a whole lot of lawyers and we're always hiring outside counsel. What are we talking about? And if you don't protect your judges, the state would also have to pay police more for the function. It's cheaper to hire security. Are you sure in the long run it's cheaper to hire security? Are you sure? Because those police are paid a salary either way. So I'm not sure what you're talking about there. There was a saga with that a few years ago, and an officer of a security firm had to fly out when the saga came out. Bro, I'll say it plain. Private security in Trinidad and Tobago for the wealthiest people are pretty much all police. They don't want to hire some conscripted martial arts fella who is going to be frightened to pull out his gun because he might not have legal authority. They want a police officer, and they want about 5 police officers, and those 5 officers could shoot the man who come to harass them and be about it. I'm just telling you in case you don't know. Kremat, inform PMAAC, please, that it's going to be cheaper for us to bypass the police that we are paying and go hire outside private security, private armed security. PMAAC, I urge you, brother, call a security company and ask them what's the cost to get a security detail, a vehicle with a complement of 4 armed personnel to privately guard you. PMAAC, go call a security company and ask them that. Is this amalgamated? I'd like to find out what's the price to get me a vehicle with 4 armed security guards round the clock. PMAC, okay, as round the clock, and see what they tell you is the price for that, and tell me if paying the salaries of police is Not cheaper than that. Like, bro. Anyway, speaking of police, PCA investigator to probe triple police killing from today. That was from yesterday. The head of Police Complaints Authority said an investigator from the authority will be assigned this morning to probe the police killings of 3 people in Tunapuna on Saturday. Yesterday, friends of Shaquille Dust Boss McGregor called on the PCA head himself to investigate the matter. Police said around 5 a.m. Saturday, a team of officers went to McGregor's apartment at Monte Grand, Tunapuna to execute a warrant. However, officers were shot at and returned fire, killing McGregor, as well as 18-year-old Jadel Shanika Utley, who was pregnant. Another man, only identified as Silence, was also killed. I find these things exceedingly suspicious. Where's the body cams? Unknown user asks. Well, the police refuse to wear them, and our police commissioner doesn't know how to make the officers wear the body cams. You know, the police don't want to wear it, so what is she going to do? It's not like, you know, she has the ability to order them to do anything out there. You know, they don't want to wear it, so what we gonna do? They just don't want to. You know, they don't want to. And like for me, in looking at body cams, at least like in the States, you recognize that body cams to me have saved police more than protected bandits. Cardell says those officers left the station with the intention to kill any and everyone they came in contact with. It seems to me very, very murderous, and the story does not add up. And listen, I'm sorry. You're going to tell me these guys are guilty. Let me tell you why, Krimak. You're going to tell me these guys are guilty of doing murders with AR-15s, constantly 5.56 ammo. And you running on them, shoot the pregnant girlfriend because she was shooting at you apparently, and found a revolver. Krimak asks, how are you all in possession of evidence? Krimak, and this is the problem with police. We don't need evidence. The public doesn't need evidence. We are in possession of a brain. We are in possession of a functioning brain. So when the police tell us that the sky is actually pink and they're urinating on us and they're telling us that's beautiful rainwater, we can smell the urea in the urine. We know you're peeing on us. Don't tell us it's water and then ask us, did you test it to know if it's pee or not? No, we can smell it. White leather, they're always finding an old rusty revolver in these situations. Interesting to me. Always some old revolver. And this real bad man had a revolver with 5 bullets and a police team of 40 officers. He decided he's going to pull out his pow-pow revolver and take out all 40 officers. Sure. Right. Chevy Boy says those police was hired to put down a work. But he wasn't walking around Krimak. He was in his home. He wasn't walking around. They didn't catch him on the streets with his pocket stuff. They had a warrant to execute for arms and ammunition in his home. So it seems like they were expecting some kind of cache and stash of weapons. And this is just the Trinidad old talk part. This is just the Trinidad old talk part. Cremak, I'm sure you wouldn't like this part even especially. But I'm going to say this old talk part nonetheless. It seems interesting to me, passing strange, that the officers these days seem to be cleaning up and taking out all the now-come gangsters. But the fellas who there since day one, that should signal something, since day one, they untouched. Certain communities unfazed. It could nearly seem, as I say, Trinidad old talk, this is just old talk. I don't know any of this to be true. It could nearly seem, Cremak, you trying to put me in place. It could nearly seem like it's more about clearing competition than cleaning up. In this case, if police did allegedly frame him, could the officers be doing vigilante justice? Yes. Very. I would assume it would be vigilante justice. I would assume that. From police, Willie Bang? Who? From police? Name one. Somebody over 40. Over 40, that is a little boy. That wasn't police. Over 40. That wasn't police. Are we as a nation willing to accept more instances of vigilante justice? Just a thought. Wasn't police either. Well, wasn't publicly acknowledged as police then, Willie Bang. If you know something behind the scenes, yes, Cremak, that is true. That one is true. But then he was in prison for a while, and the allegations are that he was trying to retake something that was no longer his. P. Mac, bro, listen. If you don't know that there are old gangsters in Trinidad, you don't know gangsters in Trinidad. There are old, elderly gangsters in Trinidad that are still very much walking around the place. But here's the problem with, I don't know who that guy, that PMAAC right there, Cremak. PMAC, you from the 90s or what? You talking about a lady who dead since 1990 something, not so? Tanti, what's her surname again? And the family still in Wall Lane, Tanti. You talking old people. You talking about shady and thing. You talking rare. Say that lady is deceased over 2 decades now. I'm just speaking about an old story. And the other thing is news. But bro, there are many other old names from her time. Yes, I know there was war in Arima recently and people were shot at and killed and murdered and all of that. I know. Yes, I read the news every day, you know, I'm aware. But there are old people out there, and that's just the point I'm making. The Trinidad old talk point I'm making, the Trinidad old talk point that I'm making is that it feels like the old boys are untouched and the new boys are told this isn't your place. It could seem like that. Well, Arima, very, very hot. It was news to me when I found out that Arima is the most murderous place in the country. I was like, really? Wow. They beat out East Port of Spain. Arima have killings like rain. Youngins too loud, Militant Rockstar says. Militant Civic. But if we are being honest, we know the old boys are loud too. But to be honest, it's very unwise to kill a head. So, is it wise to kill the others? What kind of police work would we end up with then? And that's why we don't want vigilante justice, you know. You don't want officers going around killing people who they think are the bad ones. Because what you're actually going to create is you're not going to get a crime-free, just country. You're going to get a country with the police as the top gang. And they're going to be treated and expected to behave as the top gang. Because if the police go around murdering people, they are lawbreakers too. They are not people working for justice. They are breaking the law. They are doing what they deem as right in their own eyes, using violence to do it. That's kind of what the gangsters do too. You realize you're afraid to get put in place, afraid to call names for fear of gangster retaliation, Juddy Judd says. You're talking about me. Well, of course, I wouldn't say I'm afraid to call names, but it's unwise to just be calling random people's names and blaming them for things that you don't necessarily have pure evidence of. That's just a foolish move. And I mean, you all are in the comments. You could say as you want. My face and name is here. I stand up with what I say. I have to stand by what I say. I'm not going to say foolish things. Police don't kill the heads. The heads was reasonable. The young bucks is the problem. I'm wise. Nothing resembling constitutional reform with respect to judicial killings. It's wisdom. Thank you, Kremak. The police service is the biggest gang in the country. The thing is, I regularly say things like that, and with the batch, you get that feeling sometimes, but our police isn't totally yet at that level. I wouldn't say our police is totally yet at the level of where they're pretty much a gang. If you want extrajudicial killings to be the way of the country, you think that's how we would get justice back? That is what you're going to encourage. And I would tell all youths, join that gang. Sometimes I and all wish. Nah, police isn't for me. Policing is not for me. They do dust bad, boy. Bro, and Kremak is asking where we have evidence. Kremak, the truth is, we must be able to know when something doesn't add up. When something doesn't add up. Here's what you're telling me. And I believe that, Kremak. I believe that. Here's what you're telling me. And it was similar to the case on the St. Paul's. The officers expected me to believe on St. Paul's that something like 50 officers or more, I can't remember the number, I think it was more than 50, dozens of officers swooped down on St. Paul's. Okay. You said that this guy is the gang leader of the entire district. Okay. So once you reach on St. Paul's, I suppose he would know if he is the gang leader, as you say. Okay. He's in an apartment building up inside. Okay. You're telling me your officers swooped down, noise, commotion, up the stairs, reached to his apartment, and met him with a one-shot gun just sitting there waiting on y'all? My point is, you're not afraid they sue you, you're afraid they kill you. These are the people police have to deal with. Police have guns to deal with them, and they have the backing of 7,500 others. I want to know how much people did bad too. I would not know that. Bad things can't be good because it's done to bad people. Fact, Dr. Real, fact. And that's true. Just because you believe that someone was bad, doing them bad doesn't make your bad good. not many innocent people get their death because police and criminals going at it. Trinidad State is an entire movie set at this point. And there was a double homicide of two people who may have at least seemed innocent in this case. There was a pregnant 18-year-old girl. What you are telling me is that this guy shot at you. But Kremak, you forgot what we were just talking about. About the bosses. Anyway, you're telling me that this guy shot at you and you shot at him, but ended up shooting the 18-year-old too? How did you shoot at him? Did you shoot at him through the door? How did the 18-year-old manage to get hit too? Crossfire Abdul Alim Ali says, okay, Crossfire, explain the scenario to me. So the police enter the apartment building, start kicking down doors. Okay, the 18-year-old with her boyfriend and the other guy in the last apartment would be hearing doors being kicked down coming. This guy decides, I want to die. Because if you pull out a revolver to shoot at 40 police officers coming to raid your apartment, you are going to die. Okay, this lad decides he wants to die. And the 18-year-old girl decides, I want to die with him. And stands next to him as he lets a few fly through the door as the officers come close. And then the officers return fire through the door, killing everyone inside? Is that what you tell me happened? Now, boss, going to die is not hood mentality. Swear them does think they will live. That's why the story does not add up. He not sure is police. Come na man Kremak. Come na man Kremak. He does not think his ops have a 40-man team strong, all in black kit down. He does not think that. I think he knew it was police. Because the live of whichever guy that was, I don't know who that was in the whole scenario and how that played out in the whole scenario. If that was one of the guys who was killed, the police have even more questions to answer to me. Because that live is damning, even though they may want to say it's not. But okay. That guy obviously knew it was police. This is assuming that the guys actually shot at the police. Yes, Akavi, it is assuming that. No, it wasn't him went live, Juddy. It was someone else. But it just kind of really does not add up to me. I don't believe you when you tell me something like that. This guy, who is a gangster who likes to love life, apparently, allegedly, he decided he wanted to go out and grabbed a revolver. He didn't look for an AK, an AR or something. He grabbed a plow. Right, okay. P-Mac says you discussed the KFC fight yet? No. Listen, to me the KFC fight is kind of in a similar realm to the police who got his death too. It's similar to the police who got his death. Now, the guy who killed him, I think it is murder. I think it is murder because the guy went and finished him. But beside that, he looked for his death. He went to buy his death. Kermack, I heard that from people within the living area. They say that the two men were not actually total strangers to each other, which kind of adds another dimension into the story. It is alleged that the two men may not have been totally strangers to each other. But from the video, it seems like killer was looking to leave. Killer was looking to leave. And you going to get knife to go and draw in your own killing. To go and beg for your own death. And the irony of it is this man who killed him on video is allegedly a known killer. It is alleged that this man is already wanted for killing. The man is wanted for killing. And if these guys, as it is said, previously knew each other, wouldn't you know that homie is a killer? What going on? And when police deal with them with ex Cleveland judge, you're just signing it. You're just signing. You're just signing, didn't you? Because we just dealt with this. When police deal with them with ex, because the police not supposed to be dealing with them like murder. Oh, it's like us saying that we're happy when a gangster deal with another gangster, and only vex when 7 deal with 6. The 6s cause mayhem, so we want the 7 to deal with. Are you foolish? You want gang warfare in your country? That's what you want? More murders? That's not a wise thing. I think that guy bought his death just like the police officer outside Lolita's bar. Just like the officers outside Lolita's bar. As for the self-defense, if I recall correctly from my reading, you wouldn't be in trouble for using an illegal weapon for self-defense. It will still be self-defense, but you could still be in trouble for possession of the legal weapon as a separate thing. But self-defense is self-defense regardless. You defended yourself. But the weapon itself is a crime all on its own. Choose wisely, kings. These girls out here trappy. But the girls out here trappy, but you gotta be wise all on your own. Oh, I actually I said I don't think that's self-defense, because when I watched the video, the first shot, yeah, self-defense, but he got up and finished the man. He could have left. The man was running away. He got up and finished the man. So I don't think that was self-defense. As for the police officer, I anxiously await this court case. Maybe there's some further evidence that will be revealed that I don't know. But from the video, it seems much more self-defense-ish. Seems. The officer. But the guy was charged with murder nonetheless. Charged with murder doesn't mean he's going to be convicted of murder. Very likely that won't happen. But he was charged with murder. You're not serious. Stab versus slap. But Kremak, how did the gun reach How did the gun reach out into the play? The youth man didn't bring the gun. If you bring a gun and slap me while holding a gun, wouldn't I have a logical, sensible assumption to believe my life is in danger? You have a gun and come to hit me while holding your gun. What is my assumption supposed to be? What is my assumption supposed to be? Like, I find that's why I find Crimac self-defense is stronger, in my opinion. I'm saying my opinion. My opinion. I'm not the judge. I'm not Justice Frankie out there. My opinion, the youth man versus the police looked more self-defensy. Manslaughter means he didn't have the intent to kill. Both instances, they shot several times. Shooting several times is not a negation of self-defense, PMAC. Are you sure you are a lawyer as you allege? PMAC, are you one of those people no one knows if a dog is typing? PMAC, illegally claiming to be a lawyer, I believe, is a charge, eh? I believe that's a charge. Careful. Don't take legal advice. People, Mindful Live and Nathan Springer would like to categorically distance ourselves from any purported legal advice given by one PMAC inside of this chat. But yeah, to me, the youth man seemed, and like the whole situation with the youth, the young fella walked out the other door of the bar. He walked in the opposite direction. He seemed like he was walking away from the officer. The officer was considerably larger than him. The officer was armed. He was unarmed, at least seemingly. Couture says plenty lawyers ain't too bright. That's true. That is very true. I had an officer complaining to me about that. An officer complaining to me that the lawyers out there, bro, you don't know the lawyers we have to deal with. KFC wasn't self-defense. I agree. In my opinion, again, my opinion, the guy in KFC, his life was not in danger anymore. Granted, you were stabbed. Yes. You pulled out your gun. You shot him. He ran away. You followed him and shot him what looked like in the head. That looked like a finish him kind of move. OMG, they needed to have mens rea. Wouldn't he have mens rea, Crimac, after the guy was no longer a danger to him? I mean, as we all know, this is going to be decided by the court. We aren't deciding this here, we're just talking. But wouldn't he lose that self-defense appeal if the guy was no longer a danger to him? Because I've always heard the police and the lawyers say that you cannot claim defense if your life is no longer in danger or if the person is attempting to flee. But if a person advances on you with a knife and you have a gun, what would you do? Shoot. A knife is very dangerous. In close quarters, in many cases, a knife might in fact be more dangerous than a gun. Well, we'll see with that, Crimac. The police was first shot while they were on the floor. The guy then got up and shot 2 more PMAXs. Not many cases all the time, but he had real composure because he didn't pull it at the gun until he was stabbed. Yep, he attempted to flee when he saw the gun, as far as what I saw in the video. I live by the sword, die by the sword. The pistol is only effective beyond 6 feet. PMAC, the police officer, was shot while they were on the floor. The guy then got up and shot 2 more. Even in that case, that 2 more, I heard that they said that the young man got up and finished the officer, and that's what made his own worse. But even in that case, don't the police say, and I've heard this very regularly from the police, when you engage a target that is threatening to you, you don't stop shooting until the target is down. That's police self-defense rules. Isn't that what the police say? They don't stop shooting until the target stops. I'm not saying I'm pretty sure. I'm 100% certain I have read that from police. The instance of killing a person, you have all right to once you're an immediate threat. That is true. Knife man deadly in close quarters contact, especially if knife man trained. Neutralize the threat. You use force proportionate to the situation. Police alone are allowed to neutralize their targets. I hate the idea of using force proportionate to the situation. I find that to be a ridiculous prospect. Abdul Alim Ali, I am actually more on the empty the clip view than proportionate to the situation. Because I find when someone's life is in danger, they are not supposed to be attempting to evaluate exactly, okay, this person only wanted to bring me within half of my life, so I would bring them in return within half of their life. What's wrong, Nathan? However, they are allowed to use necessary force once in danger. Proportional force is in statute, the criminal law. I know proportional force is in our statutes, but I find it to be a ridiculous prospect. That's why I'm much more in favor of what Tanti Kams was talking about with the stand your ground, the more stand your ground version of this than proportional force. It's ridiculous. Who is to determine proportional force when my life is in danger? In KFC incident, the red man was taking advantage of the killer, then ran like a sissy. Like, I don't know what people expect, you know. I saw people lambasting the guy who was screaming on the live. Like, I don't know what you expect. So if I'm a gangster, I supposed to want to die? I'm not supposed to want to live? I don't understand this. So you surprised that gangsters want to live? That they scream when their life is in danger? Like, is that a surprise? The guy disarmed the police, shot him on the floor, got up and shot him 2 more times. P-Mac, what on earth are you talking about? Was the police officer fighting Jason Bourne out there? The police officer was considerably bigger than him. He was supposedly better trained than him. He was better armed than him. They ended up in a fight. You aren't going to say the guy disarmed him and then shot. You are going to say that there was a scuffle, and during the scuffle, the officer was shot 3 times. What do you mean the guy disarmed the officer and shot him 3 times? Is Jason Bourne out here? What madness are you talking about? Disarm the officer. What? That's not what you call he disarmed the officer and then shot him and shot him again. That's not the relaying of those facts. That's not the relaying of those facts. Bro P. Maka arguing with emotion. I feel so. He may have been related to that officer. Exactly, Anton Mills. That's what I said. That's what I said. That's why, to me, the young man has a better claim of self-defense. I'm telling you, if I was a little skinny 19, 20-year-old and a big, beefy 30-something-year-old police with a gun comes and starts slapping me. And I get one shot off after somehow listen, that young fella had beaten all in his mouth. Because he is thinking this officer is going to kill me here. I'm fighting for my life. And if he's fighting for his life, he recovered the gunshot, one shot, and got up. What is he going to do now? Wait till the officer comes back to scuffle for the gun again? Like, what? He was a lawyer too. Thank you, Krimak. That is why. That is why. The bad lawyers unite. Is there a bad lawyer group? Apparently he was to fling the gun away and even the fight. Exactly, Ronnie. I don't understand this thing. Okay, I am 19. The boy is 19 or 20. He is small in frame and stature. Big beefy police with a gun. I happen to get off a shot. If I shoot him once and I stagger off, remember this man just came to me with a gun. What is my assumption of what this man is going to do next? What do I think he's going to do next after I shot him once? It is logical to assume the man would still attack me. The young fellow was in full fear for his life. I believe that. I believe that. Had the officer killed him, we would be hearing a totally different story today, praising the officer. Yup. So now is gun versus unarmed man? No. No. It's not gun versus unarmed man. It's a man who was armed and lost his weapon. That's what happened. A man who was armed and lost his weapon. Like, I don't even understand what your expectation is of this little boy. He's supposed to shoot the officer once and take the gun, and then what? Wait till the officer gets up, tell him, all right, we done there, boss. Boss, you see I win, so stop now, all right? This officer obviously isn't a logical participant because he went to his car and brought a gun. Why did the officer approach him in the first place? Abdul Ali asks. No, don't ask that to his fans like PMAC. Don't ask that to his fans like PMAC because that's not within the realm of questioning. The officer had all right to approach a little boy and slap him while holding his gun. The officer was right to do that. And the little boy was supposed to take his slap and probably a few gun butt and just hush him out. But what these big silly officers have to understand is these young men are ignorant too. I don't know if it was released, but it was said he was shot multiple times. The key elements, type of weapon, training. What training by whom? Did the officer announce himself as an officer? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think he announced himself as an officer. I don't see how you announce yourself as an officer and approach with a slap. But I think this shows you a certain kind of behavior of officers. That's one of the primary things this shows you. Do you think this is the first time ever this officer behaved even close to that manner? That's why I would like FULs all around. Let police understand every citizen you approach. Every citizen you approach, you have to think of them like that. They cut out your lights, so you have to approach them with respect, like another adult human being. Chevy Boy says PMAC is probably one of the advantageous bullies paid by the public police. I don't know that. Trini Utap says Nathan Police is good people. Mommy nice child. Of course they are. Hey, right before we go, let me brush on the barge crash with the coke. Confirmed. Confirmed. 0.5 million in cocaine found in oil spill zone. What? Like, what? Cocaine valued at over $500,000 has been found washed ashore at Cove Estate, Tobago. At around 2:40 p.m. Sunday, a black plastic bag containing a white substance resembling cocaine was found along the shoreline. The drug weighs approximately 1.109 kilos and has an estimated street value of $515,285.76. I always wonder just how these police get in the coke price, eh? I always wonder about that. Now, while Leather says 1 key of coke on the whole bag seems like an inefficient use of cargo space. Hey, bro. Listen, I am unsure which direction to go in this thing. I'm telling you all, I don't, positive, I'm in the same boat, bro. I don't know which direction to go. Okay. Is it that the boat had oil and coke? It was Juve out there, oil and powder? Or is it that, I don't know how many of you all watch old Dave Chappelle, and he spoke about the police, and anytime they wanted to frame someone, you know, if they mistakenly shot someone or they did something bad, they would just come and sprinkle some coke on them. So, okay, oh no, we shot an innocent guy. Oh, just sprinkle some coke on them. A Dave Chappelle joke. I could wonder if somebody decided, listen, this oil situation getting sticky. You know what is the good thing to change the narrative here? Sprinkle a little powder. That was to help with carbonation. PMAC, the coke thing confirmed. PMAC, did you not hear the headline I just read? Daily Express, February 19th, 2024, updated 7 hours ago. Confirmed. $0.5 million in cocaine found in oil spill zone. Crimac says fake news. Crimac, how I would know? They tell me they find coke. But like, if you ship in coke, is it worth it to ship only 1 brick? Okay, listen, I have never shipped anything like that in my life. FBI and officers, I don't know anything about that. What I want to know, for the people who are shippers out there, when they're shipping, is it common practice to ship 1 brick? People are there are one brick shippers out there. People go through all the risk to get one brick in. Like, I would have probably if somebody told me that, you know, someone tried to get in with a knapsack and they had a one brick worth stacked up in the knapsack, I'd say okay, that seems like, you know, makes sense. A knapsack, yeah, one brick is mule weight, but I am not the expert. I am not the expert, but it would seem like I don't know. I don't know. Where did one brick come from? A little interesting addition to the news on the oil spill. Track down Solo Creed maritime attorney names tugboat in oil spill. Maritime attorney Nairi Alfonso says she has uncovered new information about the mysterious oil spill, which has stained parts of the Tobago coastline and caused environmental damage. In a phone interview with The Express yesterday, Alfonso noted that there have been a number of reports about the overturned vessel named Gulfstream, but this is possibly the old name of the barge. Our information is that there is no Gulfstream involved in this accident, unless it happens to be the earlier name of the current barge. The barge that is turned upside down in Tobago's waters. Her name is Coolie Boy. Listen. That's the name of the barge. I am not saying a slur here. Her name is Coolie Boy, and we believe her to be owned by a Guyanese entity. The fuel was destined for Guyana, she said. You see, those barges don't have to be registered. So renaming who owns it, where it comes from, where it's going is often up in the air. Dane can, you win. Dane can, you win. You win for topical right on the memory. Ogadoi, the Calcutta ship. And look at the name of the ship. Ogadoi. What was his name? Hilton. Is Hilton Sandy? Hilton Sandy, probably Blue Man. Wait, did he pass? Hilton Coulson, if he's alive. But allegedly, this barge is a Guyanese-owned barge named the Coolie Boy. Now, the Guyana Prime Minister told us they know nothing about this, eh? So, I find something is strange there. Now, here's how things are further strange to me. It's alleged Stuart Young said there are hundreds of vessels with the name, but was proven there's only 5. Stuart said there are hundreds of vessels with the name, but people pointed out there are only 5 of that nature with the same name. So Stuart was playing smart with foolishness when he said that. But here's another issue I'm having with what Stuart said. This lady, the maritime attorney, said our information is that the consignee is a Guyanese entity. The Solo Creed, which is the tug, came through the Panama Canal empty, meaning not without a tow, and went to somewhere by Aruba and collected Coolie Boy and was passing through Trinidad and Tobago on its way to Guyana, she said. So Stuart knew that the ship went from Aruba and was left from Aruba and was going to Guyana. So are you telling me that he had the information that this ship went to Guyana, went to Aruba, picked up the barge, and was heading to Guyana? Really? Alfonso said she believed that after the barge started leaking, the Solo Creed cut her lines and bust it and gone. She said the Solo Creed was flagged in Tanzania, meaning it was registered in Tanzania and more than likely went through the Panama Canal, where it would have submitted all its documents to officials there. If anybody knows where Tanzania is East Africa. East Africa, close to the Madagascar coast. Now, bear in mind that whole East African coast is known for piracy. And it just so happens the tugboat was registered down on the Pirates' Haven in East Africa. Aight, cool. She said, I was able to find out that Mr. Solo Creed coming through the Panama Canal picked up a barge called Coolie Boy and he headed to Guyana. She said as she reiterated the journey through Trinidad and Tobago's waters when disaster struck. Asked why she thinks Solo Creed fled from the scene and abandoned the barge, Alfonso responded, when it realized the potential disaster of having 5,000 metric tons of fuel leak out all over the place, instead of being saddled with any liability, they bust it. Now, people were pointing out, as we were asking, why would a barge full of oil be headed to Guyana? People were pointing out that the barge wasn't exactly filled with crude oil. It wasn't filled with oil needing refining. It was filled with already refined products. Good night, Kermack. And allegedly, this heavy oil was headed, which is a refined product, was headed to Guyana to be used as fuel. So it's not that it was oil headed to Guyana in order to be refined. Now, it's interesting because that information about what the ship was carrying came from Mr. Stuart Young too. How did he know that? Was it that they tested and that's how Mr. Stuart found this out? Or was it that he knew the cargo that the ship was carrying? Trinidad says, why would it go through the Panama Canal? That makes no sense. Well, I don't know. They said the ship was registered in Tanzania. I don't know if the ship was actually in Tanzania before, but if it was in Tanzania and it sailed east across Asia, across the Pacific Ocean, it would sail through the Panama Canal. Now, I don't know why would it not just sail around the Cape of South Africa down there and come through to the Caribbean. I don't know, but that's what they said. It came through the Panama Canal. Maybe it was doing business on the western shores of the United States or South America previously. I don't know. I need to learn the sea, boy. You're sounding good. I love geography though, eh? We could talk real geography here. She also pointed out, though, that it was a pretty poor job of containing and working the whole disaster. And it does seem, many people are pointing out that everything seemed to have been run on delay. And maybe we might launch a commission of inquiry into the whole matter and come down to the bottom of it at the end. Who knows? Satellite imagery shows the Solo Creed was in Venezuela. No, I believe if you are talking about the Bellingcat article, satellite imagery shows the Gulf Stream in Venezuela's water with another tug called the Marlin. Now, the tug that is presently towing the boat, allegedly, is one called the Solo Creed, which is another boat, and the barge now is not named the Gulf Stream anymore, allegedly. It is the Coolie Boy. Now, it was also noted that Aruba is a well-known hotspot for laundering sanctioned petrocarbon. So people list the port of arrival, where it's coming from, as Aruba, while really and truly it came from Venezuela, touched in Aruba, and then they bought it. So Aruba is widely known to run illicit petrocarbon material. So this doesn't negate the fact that it may still have been some kind of illegal move going on here. But if it's an illegal move, it at least would have Venezuela, Guyana, and maybe Trinidad involved in the entire thing. Half of the oil stream is passing outside of the boom that was meant to contain the spread. Well, that sucks. All right, people. That's all I have for now. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. Are there any comments or questions on the inside before I dive out? It's alleged it operates under different names to hide its clandestine operations. Well, of course it does. And that's why it turns off its beacon. You cannot track where the ship is. Don't dive out tonight? Okay, well, I'll walk out. I'll walk slowly out instead of diving. Change the dive to a slow walk. Be mindful, not mindless, as Trini Hotep always says. And it seems like a reminder that needs repetition constantly. So thank you, folks, for joining me tonight. This has been the Mindful Life Show. I will see you guys again for the next Mindful Life, which is going to be tomorrow evening, tomorrow night around that 9 p.m. time. I'm looking to start... Honestly, people, are trying to start earlier. We're trying to get it earlier. We're trying this 11:28 business. We'll see how that all goes. I will see you guys again tomorrow evening. Laters, people. Be safe. Stay well. Peace. I'm out.